Evening.
Hi, hello.
Thank you for joining. Let me just set up. Sorry, I was muted. Sabi ko, I hope others will join us. We'll see.
Yes po, sir. Meron naman po ata, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start in a minute or two. Let's wait for the rest. I know I'm competing with um, other requirements and the basketball game, of course. So, sige lang. Stiff competition. UP lost, no? This afternoon, I heard. So, wow. Hopefully, we proceed to the in one game, no, to the finals. Kundi, 2 in a row na lost na yan. Sige, we can start, no? Sige, I don't want to waste your time waiting. And thank you for joining, no? Again, it's the usual group. I hope others can join us later, no? Okay. Good evening again. Thanks for joining again. Let me know, no, if you have issues with my audio or the visuals. No? All right, so module 5, we're in the last module. No? It's actually a short session. No? We'll still have this session as well as next week to finish module 5. No? I could have discussed it in one session, pero we still have class next week. So sabi ko, we will probably do an interactive exercise for each. No? Kasi module 5, I'm not sure if other SOCSI 13 teachers are actually teaching this, no? But I thought of including this because it's useful actually for a lot of your other courses and even in your careers later on in life, no? And even in your organizations, no? When you're doing cost analysis and project planning or program design. No? So before that, again, you have until May 14, no? Well, you have until the end of the month, basically, to cover Module 5. But suggested pace, hopefully you've started it already, and then you finish by, before the study days. No? So FIO guidelines, I discussed that last week. I think, no, the week prior to last week, I think, no. So if you missed that, no, just refer to the recording and deck for the May. I know that's an April. Anong date yun? Let me check. That's the April 20 session. No? Kasi last week we converted that into consultations. The deadline is May 27, 11:59 p.m. If you are having difficulty looking for the deck last time or the recording, again, this is being recorded and I just included it here. So I will not discuss it anymore. No? Sorry, deadline is May 20. May 20. Let me just check. Yeah, I think May 26 pala nilagay ko. I apologize. Yeah. So I won't discuss this now. You have access to this. So this is the standard SOCSI 13 and Big Kiss integrated output. So just refer to the previous session where I discussed this comprehensively. Okay, so module 5, it's short, no? It's composed of two sections, no? And this is really important because out of everything that we've done so far, no, and part of your CBMS exercise was sort of doing this, no. But these are tools, no. These are tools that development practitioners use all the time, no. When they want to do something, when they want to design a new project, no, or formulate something, you know, they first see what's wrong, and then they try to come up with a program systematically. So these tools are supposed to help practitioners be more systematic when it comes to analyzing issues. At the same time, be more systematic and programmatic when it comes to formulating um, interventions in a project or a program. The difference na naman between a program and a project. A program is more holistic, it's broader. A program can be composed of different smaller projects, no? That sort of, if combined, helps achieve a certain higher level outcome, which is a program. But we'll get to that next week. No? For this week only, for this session, no, we'll discuss causal analysis. No? And at any point, stop me. No, we'll end with an exercise. No, because providing an introduction to the tool, it's quite easy. No? Doing it is the sort of more challenging part. No? So don't worry. No, later on when we do an interactive exercise, don't worry. You might be stuck. No, okay lang yan. Even seasoned old-timer development professionals grapple with this, no? So these are not analyzing problems are not easy, no? But hopefully these tools will help you. No? So for a lot of these things that I'm teaching, no, fortunately I work in a development agency. I copied some of the slides that we actually use, no, when they're training us, when they're building our capacities here. So the question here, so why do you need to do a causal analysis? You've had some experience, no, in the CBMS exercise. No? The problem, no, especially when you look at the CBMS, no, the problem is the development challenges that you see, no, may be symptoms, diba, rather than causes. Like for example, may lagnat. The lagnat is not a cause. That's actually not the illness. It's actually a symptom of an illness. So the thing kasi when kasi ano yan, two sides to one coin. You want to design something, you want to assess the cause, and you want to formulate the intervention based on your analysis, diba, of the causes of the problem. The problem is you don't necessarily, for the most part, no, you don't usually intervene sa symptoms. you want your programs or projects to actually more or less address the more deeper causes, no? What's causing the symptoms. So identifying causes is really important for thinking of interventions. No? So to identify causes, keep asking why. To dig deeper, no? Yun nga sabi nila, there's this trick called the 5 whys, no? Keep asking why 5 times, no? Or even more, no? Until you can no longer ask why. Kasi it helps you really identify the root cause or root causes. So ito, for example, when you say children under 5 are malnourished, I got this from somewhere, I forget now. No? Um, well, technically, you can just give out food, no, for so that they gain weight. No? But the problem is you're not necessarily addressing the more important factors. And if you keep on just giving food, no, maybe it's not sustainable. So maybe you try to address, so what's causing it? Maybe you can intervene in those causes. No? So could be not enough food, not enough money, pangit yung ani, no, agriculture production and yields, no, the animals where they get their food source are malnourished, so etc. etc. No? So there are a lot. And one of the things, no, ito pala may source pala ako dito. I saw this in one website. And the tools I'm gonna show you actually is trying to make sense of this. Kasi ito, it's just listing potential causes. No? So how do you be more systematic? So this is step 1. You list, no? You list as much as possible. But there's also a more systematic way or ways, no? So I'm gonna provide an overview, and it's on Canvas as well, no? 2 main tools that development practitioners use, no? And again, you can use this for anything, no? Your future career, your even your NSTP. Some groups in my past semester, they even use this for their papers, their homework 2 in policy analysis. They also use it for your final integrated output. Gusto nyo gamitin, that's fine as well. So, ito, one is the fishbone diagram. One of the more popular tools is the Ishikawa. No? It's a Japanese guy that came up with the idea. It's the diagram. So ito, I stole this. I took a screenshot of the video that's posted on Canvas. No? On this. No? So the problem was yung lack of hand washing, no? or poor hand washing practices. So the way to do it, and I'll go through this again later, no, is to identify kind of like this, no, and then organize it into different categories, no. Problem with materials, problem with methods, people, tapos each bucket or each category, meron kang sub factors or sub causes, no. So ito, for example, no, there are no lack of materials, kulang ng sabon. Lack of methods, no, people, killed children don't know the proper hand washing process. No? Ito naman, it's an iterative process, no? Ito malinis, di ba? Pero usually when you're doing a fishbone analysis, ano yan iterative. So you keep adjusting, ay dito pala to, or even the headers, no? Sige, so ito, let's go through it step by step, no? Just to summarize, kasi this is already in Canvas as well, no? as I mentioned. So I got this from USA. Because kami, we do undergo training, no? And again, as I told you, some development practitioners, they still have a hard time, no, identifying causes and doing development interventions. No? So we have to undergo training as well. So these are slides, actual slides from one of our training sessions before, no, a few years ago. So steps in doing the fishbowl. So one is identify the major problem, the big one. And that's more or less a symptom. Diba? Kasi itong hand washing, diba? For example, you're proposing an intervention for hand washing. It's not hand washing that you attack. It's what's causing the poor hand washing. So identify the major problem, for example, hand washing. Identify all the specific problems. So ito, yan. Listing lang, no? And then you organize all the specific problems into cause and effect relationships. And then, sige, mag-causal-causal ka pa lang. And you do this. No? So, yan. So, yeah, let's go through it one by one para mas. So, a major problem, usually a symptom. No? There are two ways kasi. One is categories. No? The main buckets are categories. No? The other way of doing a fishbone, so that's one option. No? The other way of doing a fishbone analysis is hierarchical. So there's a main problem, no? There's a major problem, and then you have a sub-problem, no? That's causing it. But then there are also sub-problems that are causing the sub-problem. Diba? Kasi nga hierarchical eh. Parang ito, for example. So, ito. For example lang, no? Children under 5 are malnourished. The sub-problem is there's not enough food. And not enough food can be a symptom of the animals are malnourished or we have poor soil. So pwedeng, for example, ito nga yun. No? So not enough food, children are malnourished. This one can be yung main category niya or sub-problem niya is animals are, we don't have enough food, no? So pwedeng lack of agriculture yield here, one fish bone under this sub-bone, and then the animals are malnourished, so kulang sa meat. And then you can think of other ways. Then you move to another cause, lack of nutritious food. Then you also identify what's causing that. So it's systematic. No? So usually it's hard to do it in one pass. No? You will have to adjust. Dito pala to, then collapse. And, so ano yan, it's an iterative trial and error. Ano. The important thing really is before working on the fishbone itself. Mukha siyang fishbone. That's why it's called the fishbone. You try to exhaust muna. One pass. No? Exhaust all the different issues. And then you categorize them and make and to the extent possible, i-hierarchy nyo. This leads to this or this is caused by this and that. Parang ganun. Mamaya, we'll try to do an exercise. So again, step one, again, so identify, that's the head, that's the fish head, which many Pinoys love to eat, including my mom. So yeah, the increasing ability of water supply to meet water demand. Very specific, but it's a symptom. So brainstorm. Sige, lista lang. Worsening drought, and then organize them into specific problems. No? Direct cause and effect. This, dapat ito should affect this. This should affect this. And this should affect this. And then, they should be separated if they're not necessarily related. Kasi kung related sila, it could be subsumed under this, for example. So you make it into the yellow ones, no? They're different if they're not related. But if they're related, one could be a sub of the sub siya. So ito, for example, these are the three major problems. And then yun, no? Then ito, this one major sub problem, pwede siyang manganak into different causes. No? What is causing this? And you can do the same for this. No, a lot of different bones moving left and right. So I won't discuss this kasi ganun lang naman yun. It's the logic there. No? You have a major problem. You have a let's say three sub-problems. And for each sub-problem, there are sub-problems that's causing that. So you stop at the third level siguro, muna. Kasi magiging too unwieldy na yung fishbone. So ganun. But usually you don't do this immediately. Again, you list muna. And then you find a way to categorize them and organize them in a more organized manner. So step 4, you review the diagram and refine it. Yun nga. So you make adjustments, especially if usually this should be relatively, pero mahirap naman, no? Mutually exclusive. No? They're different, kaya they can be separated. Pero kung ito related to this, then maybe it could fall under this. So they have to be separate. So again, either hierarchical, major problem, this one is causing this, and these are the sub-sub, or categorical. People, methods, materials, and equipment, environment. Pwedeng ganun. So it could be hierarchical, causal relationships, or a nice way of categorizing it. So you can do both. You can pursue both. No? I am partial to hierarchies. Kasi mas maganda if you know, it's following the why is this, why is this, why is this, until you get to the more deeper causes. So yeah, that's an example from our office. Ito, that's another example that I got. Yeah, for example, high infant and child mortality. You saw that in the CBMS, no? Child mortality. No? So ito, out of all, they organized this into this, the short birth intervals. That's one issue. And what's causing short birth intervals? Kasi they're saying mothers need to space birth spacing dapat, no, because it's not healthy for both the mom and the child, no, if it's too the space, the timing is too short, no. So dapat ideally every 2 or 3 years yung spacing. So yun, and what's causing short birth intervals, no, the spacing, no? So societal attitudes towards family planning, use of powdered formula instead of breastfeeding. Although, to be honest with you guys, of course, it's not perfect. No? Like ito, I have a critique. Ito parang it falls out of place kasi hindi naman siya necessarily a cause for short birth intervals. So hindi even yun nga, even development practitioners, they make mistakes. So I'm providing tools, examples, guidance, but they're not perfect. No? Ito, poor maternal understanding. Ito, sorry, I just revisited this. May mali. So that's one. No? So even old-timers make mistakes. No? Poor maternal understanding of treatment of diarrheal disease, no? Because a huge chunk, especially among poor households, no, is diarrhea. No? So lack of information, customary beliefs, etc., etc. Inadequate nutrition, no, poverty, and then you can even go further down. No, lack of access to potable water. Actually, they could have, no, if I were to sort of revise this Ishikawa diagram. I will relate access to potable water with diarrhea. So yun. So again, it's not an exact science. It's art and science here. No? The important thing is to put it on paper, identify deeper causes. That and then yun nga, like CBMS, no. On the flip side, once you've identified the problems, no, and the sub problems, then the interventions can be defined. Diba? Parang ima-match mo yun eventually. So throughout this course, no, all of your assignments, mapapansin nyo, it's about analyzing things and coming up with interventions. It's a very helpful and useful way of organizing your causal analysis and thinking through. It challenges you to keep thinking, keep asking why, and then eventually try. So I would connect the lack of access to potable water here in diarrhea, no? Incidents of diarrhea. So yun, even ako, no, I have comments on this. Kasi yun nga, different people can come up with different, The important thing is to keep refining, keep assessing whether your fishbone is enough or you can do course corrections. Of course, kahit hindi naman malinis, as long as you're able to surface the problems, no, and the sub problems. That's the goal. Doesn't have to be super malinis yung logic. Just let me know if you have questions. We'll have a short exercise after this. The other way, no? So that's the Ishikawa diagram. The other way is called the problem tree. I actually am, for the most part, more partial. I prefer this more than the Ishikawa diagram because it's, visually it's more obviously hierarchical. Kasi kita mo top bottom eh. It's the Y. So it's very hierarchical. So makikita mo talaga the root causes are the ones at the bottom. No? So for example, no, just to go through this. Children under 5 years are malnourished. No, we do not have enough food. Diba? Remember, this came from here. It's listing this, but it's diba, after you've listed, you sort of transform this into hierarchical cause and effect relationships. So ako, I'm partial to this actually, pero mas maraming gumagamit ng fishbone. But it's really up to you. No? These are tools to help you think and more systematically. No? So we do not have enough food. Why? Because we don't have enough money and we have poor soil. Why do you not have enough money? We don't have diversified sources of income. Why do you have poor soil? The fertilizers are not great. We do not have the right kinds of food. The animals are malnourished. Ibig sabihin, lack of protein yan. Why are the animals malnourished? There's drought, perennial drought, there's disease, etc. So ganun. So these are the apparent problems. Another way of putting it is apparent problem, which is the major one. Sorry, I'm like Miss Universe, no, major. It's the major, really the big problem, the glaring symptom, and then other sub-symptoms or initial problems, then root causes as you go down. So I'm partial to this. But I'm presenting you two useful tools to help you think, especially when you're analyzing causes. And especially when you do field work, when you're working with communities. Maganda to. These are nice tools to have after. So again, this one, it's really about asking why. Sabi nga nila, it's the 5 whys technique. So keep asking why up to 5 times on average. And you'll get to your root causes. Yung pinakadulo. What's causing them. But yun nga, if you see here, sometimes there are interlinkages as well. Ito, ang problema lang dito, hindi naman problema, but the reality is it's not neat. Sometimes one could affect other things, like paano ba? Drought. Drought can affect not just the animals but also the poor soil, diba? So may mga ganun eh. So they're not necessarily clean in terms of the arrows. There could be like arrows interspersing, could be like a spaghetti. If you really analyze the linkages, what's causing this. But remember our topic in module, module 3. Remember, when you're doing causal analysis and you've practiced this, I think in your big keys, remember to include participatory approaches. So data from the CBMS, you combine that with inputs from beneficiaries, then you do your own expert analysis. Could be the fishbone, could be the problem tree, or any kind of way by which you can categorize and think about it more systematically. Any questions so far? I don't see questions. Okay. Exercise. So let's try it out. What time is it? Okay, I'll give you 25 minutes instead of 20 minutes. So I will share with you the link to this deck so you can get access to the tools, the examples, and then the what do you call this? The next slide, which is the CBMS data of San Remigio in Cebu. Um, I think some people left the group, no? Left the room, no, just in time for the exercise. Um, so we're down to one group. I was thinking of um, having two groups, pero sige lang. No? Okay, let's try it out. No? I mean, just for the sake of trying it out. Okay lang yun. No? This, I think this is new for most of you. No? So try to do. No? I wanted two groups, pero okay lang. Kayo na lang, the four of you. 20-25 minutes, try it out. Choose one development challenge of San Remigio. Kayo na. It's up to you how you want to state the major problem or the head of the fish or the main problem in the problem tree, the top problem. Try to do a fishbone, simple fishbone or problem tree analysis. Doesn't have to be complex. No? So just remember the steps among yourselves. Choose a leader and a reporter. And that leader will help facilitate. No? Or sige, choose na lang. No? What will be your main problem? And then you first list down before you organize it into a simple fishbone or problem tree analysis. I'll give you 25 minutes. If you need more time, we'll do 30 minutes. But I'll check back siguro after 20 minutes, see how you guys are doing. Ito lang, stop na lang when it's time para lang we'll see no, how you've progressed so far, how you're trying it out. So, I don't expect it to be perfect. Wala naman talagang perfect na fishbone analysis or problem tree. So it's your choice. Choose one development challenge. I will now share, wait lang ha. I will now share the link to this deck. Uh, wait lang. All right. Macro get link. Copy link. Okay. Here you go. So I will still put you guys into a breakout room, no? Kasi baka mahiya kayo while I'm here. So breakout rooms. Create one breakout room. Assign manually. So you have until 6:55 for now. So I will assign the four of you. So try your best lang. Try lang to. No worries. Huh? Doesn't have to be perfect. So I'll see you at 6:55 for now. I'll check back. Okay? See you.
Hi, sir.
Hi guys, are you done?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So you guys, you're no longer in the breakout rooms, no?
Yes, sir. We got kicked out.
Sorry. There's a time limit, ba?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. May time limit po.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. You guys need more time?
Um,
Okay lang, if
Do
you
we?
need 5 minutes.
Yes, sir, please. Kahit 5 lang.
Yeah, sige. 5 or 10. You need 10?
I think 5 is enough for parang finalizing naman na po.
Recreate ko na lang. Or recreate.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I'm really sorry. I thought it's done manually. Sige. All right. I'll do this now.
Sir.
Okay.
Hi, sir. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
welcome
Good
back.
afternoon.
So, sige nga, I hope you found the exercise interesting. Sige, can you guys present it to me?
Sige, sir.
Okay. I can share my screen.
You cannot?
No,
You
sir. I will share my screen na lang.
Right.
Is it sharing? Ay, hindi pa. Sorry. There.
There you go. Oh,
Okay.
nice fish.
So,
Okay.
we use the fishbone analysis po, sir, and the main problem that we identified is their high poverty incidence. I think for San Remigio, more than half of the people fall below the poverty threshold. And then from there, we identified certain main problems that cause it, and we'll discuss it bone per bone. Okay. Uh, okay, I can start, although I'm sa subsistence economy. So for them, we noticed that I think parang 91% of the labor force are actually employed, sir, but they still have like a high poverty incidence, which means na they do have jobs, but it is highly focused on yung sa farming or yung sa fishing, kasi nga they have a subsistence economy, and usually like what they produce is already what suffices for their needs na rin. And one of the effects parang na nakita namin of that was that they have a non-diversified livelihood, like what we mentioned. Parang limited na yung job opportunities nila to to farming and fishing. And then sorry, let me just move that here. And then parang as a result, parang another thing that leads to that is yung high dropout rate from elementary to junior high school. So usually parang students parang by 12 years old ata, they have a high dropout rate, and then they already join the workforce as early as that, para they can help with the livelihood of their families. So I guess one of the results that come from it is yung lack of livelihood programs nga. Parang they're really trapped into that subsistence economy. They're forced to join, they're forced to work at an early age to help their families na agad. So that's one bone that we identified. I think Francis will discuss naman for infrastructure investments.
So good evening, sir. Good evening, classmates. So with regards to the lack of infrastructure investments, na-notice po namin na yun nga po, in connection to what was mentioned earlier na naging subsistence economy, yung lugar nila, subsistence economy, because napakataas ng poverty incidence, mataas yung dami ng, parang mataas yung percentage ng population nila na income na may income below poverty threshold, na may income below food threshold. Pero at the end, mababa pa rin yung hunger rate nila. So, subsistence economy. So, parang hindi na masyado naging diversify yung livelihood nila. And because, and one of the key reasons is that lack of investments and infrastructure. So, insufficient infrastructure na maaaring mag-connect sa mga negosyo doon, na maaaring mag-connect sana sa mga livelihoods doon into capital. So, capital like businesses sa mga bayan or sa mga karatig na lungsod. And isa sa mga rason na yon, and for example, pwede nating makonect yun sa mga farm-to-market roads. Like, di ba? Parang instead na mabenta nila sa ibang mga negosyo or sa ibang capital, parang umiikot na lang din sa kanila mismo yung pagkain or yung inaani nila, because yun nga, given nga dun sa CMBS nila or sa earlier na na-research din namin about sa Sam Remigio na paper, that yung primary livelihood nila aside sa tourism will be fishing and agriculture. So, yun, parang the more na kakaunti yung negosyo doon, the more na kakaunti, the less, baliktad. The less yung kinikita nila, the less yung investment nila, the less yung investment nila, the less yung negosyo na maaaring madagdag aside sa mga kung anong meron sila right now. So, doon namin ma-attribute yung lack of infrastructure kung bakit crucial din yon na factor sa pagkakaroon ng subsistence economy ng lugar nila sa San Remigio. So next, lack of human capital investment.
So sir, we saw that yung primary cause of the lack of access in sanitation facility and water was lack of human capital investment. So this is basically uh their lack of or their lack of having an initiative to develop their um people, and this might be because of their focus on tourism, so they don't really focus on other key things that might improve the livelihoods of the people, and hence this gives them an insufficient infrastructure since they aren't able to afford like uh improving their households and etc., which leads to yun nga, the lack of sanitation facility and safe water. Yeah. So all that, sir, leads to the high poverty incidence. We saw that more than half, around 69% of the people live below the poverty threshold. So yeah, sir.
And sir, I think if I may add also another takeaway now we noticed while we were making this, but we were already too far into the fishbone na, was that yung difference nga between the fishbone and the problem tree. Like we realized there were some problems na we wanted to link with one another. Parang pwede sana mag-crossover that the fishbone analysis wasn't able to provide for us. But yes, sir. I think that's it, ma'am. Oh, so you're muted, Pata.
You only had 30 minutes, so that's perfectly understandable. No? Kasi this is a good start, actually. No? Really good start. No? Siguro lang just a few comments, but again, really good start. No? Just try to make sure that the logic is more causal. No? So for example, kasi the pink one, di ba, is sort of the main cause. No? So the lack of access to cities, why does that lead to high poverty incidents? No? So baka meron pang more apparent problem. No? Pero I like this because yes, maisip mo nun, pero that might still be leading to something that will eventually lead to high poverty incidents. No? You can even combine these concepts with this. Diba? Kasi distance-wise, kulang sa employment, etc., etc. Then I'm assuming that again, as you presented, the yellow ones contribute to the pink ones, no? Pero yun nga, no, the thing is, you also, when you re-examine, and I'm sure again, this is just a draft, no, because you only had 30 minutes, no. Some practitioners, they spend hours or the whole day, no, just keep on trial and error, fix, etc., revise. Like for example, dropout rate, why does that contribute to lack of livelihood programs? Diba? So, i-question nyo ngayon yung logic. No? So, balikan kayo. So, balik na rin yun. So, this one, i-test nyo yung logic. Does this cause this? And then, does this cause that? No? But really, it's really a good start. No? You guys, if you want to continue this, no? So, yun. And that's good exercise for you. No? Kasi if you'll notice, no, this is not just for SOCSI 13. You can use this for your projects, your organizations, your careers eventually, etc., etc. And I hope you found it useful. No, and you can practice some more no, if you're really interested, or the problem tree also. So yun. Any last comments from you guys? Did you find it interesting or useful naman?
Yes po, sir. And parang, kasi po yung Centimigio, actually, parang mirror po siya ng iba pong nangyayari sa ibang mga town sa bansa natin right now. Kasi may problem po talaga usually sa parang connecting it to the capital. So parang hindi naman isolated, but parang ganun na nga in a sense na para nahihirapan yung mga negosyo na itap yung or ibang potential investors na itap yung possible na potential ng lugar na yun. So parang sir.
So yun nga, so you're right. No? I mean, some of these are assumptions. Some of it, kita naman sa data, di ba? And yun nga, yun yung maganda. When you're doing causal analysis, you have data, as much as possible, good data, no? And then you can talk to people, combine yun. Then you come up with more causes, more diagnosis, no? And then yun. Then from that, no? Kita nyo may specific na kayo. Then from that, mas madali na ngayon mag-design ng interventions, di ba? Then you can also parang see. And by the way, you can repeat if you want. Kasi medyo madumi naman yung fishbone if you will have arrows. Pwede rin yun. Pero you can repeat sub-problems, no? Kasi they might be contributing to two main problems. Pwede rin ganun. Tapos, actually, that would give you a clue what are the most important ones. For example, na doble siya. Ayan. That maybe you can really do an intervention on that. So, ganun. This is really more for helping practitioners design interventions. Kasi kikita mo na ano yung mga levers that you will need to address or play around with or influence. Okay, and then next week, what we're gonna do is we can probably continue on this path, no? This problem set yung San Remeo. Gagawa na kayo ng logical representation of what can be done, the interventions that can be done. Okay, so I hope you guys can still join next week. Hopefully more of your classmates can join so we can have 2 breakout rooms or groups. So again, I hope you found it useful. I think 3rd quarter pa lang yata last time I checked, so you guys can still watch the game and have dinner. All right, thank you again for joining the usual bunch. I appreciate it. Maraming salamat. Have a good evening. Have a good dinner.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.